I call the Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Well, it would seem that the Leader of the Opposition has discovered the net. All of a sudden he's all keen on technology. Previously he was more interested in netball than the net, but nevertheless we welcome him to the field. He's a bit late to the field, but we welcome him. Because we can all agree that the transformation to the knowledge economy is a major force affecting Australia's economy. According to Deloitte, in their report, The Connected Continent, the digital economy is already $79 billion or 5.1% of GDP in 2013-14. And we can all agree that smaller companies, start-up companies, are enormously important when it comes to job creation. According to the OECD's Science, Technology and Innovation Scorecard, a third of job creation in the business sector comes from young firms with fewer than 50 employees. But the key policy question which the Leader of the Opposition needs to answer if he's prosecuting the case for what he asserts baselessly is the government's failure to plan for the jobs of the new economy, the key policy question he needs to answer is how it is that the things that he's talking about are apparently going to solve the problem, how it is that with just one speech on budget reply night he can fix it all with lots of bold promises. And he really faces three fundamental problems. Firstly, Labor's deeply underwhelming track record in this area. Secondly, his failure to recognise that there's an enormous amount going on, and the Abbott government has a plan which we are executing. We're actually doing things while the Leader of the Opposition is simply talking. And thirdly, the ideas that he's come up with are in many cases half-baked. Let's look at Labor's poor track record. Let's talk about employee share ownership plans. There is nothing more important to innovative start-up companies in the technology sector than being able to attract and retain talent, and to do so using the remuneration tools which are standard practice in the new economy around the world. In the United States, in Israel, in tech sector hotspots all around the world, it is vital to be able to offer your employees share options so that they can share in the upside of the company if it goes well, so that you can attract away smart people from the big corporates by giving them a share in the upside. So what did Labor, this friend of innovation, this friend of the new economy, this champion of jobs for the future, what did the Labor Party do when the member for Lilly, in those grim, dark days when the member for Lilly was bizarrely the Treasurer of Australia? What did Labor do? Labor deliberately changed the tax law to make it effectively impossible for start-up companies in the technology sector to use employee share schemes, by changing the tax treatment so that in the year in which the options were issued, employees were taxed. Rather than it becoming an incentive, it was something they ran away from, realising they'd be hit with a big tax bill on options which might well be worthless. Of course, Labor never understands. Labor never understands the nature of risk in business. It's just not in their DNA. Well, thankfully, after those grim, dark days, there is light on the horizon, thanks to that unyielding champion of small business, of innovation, of technology, the Minister for Small Business, the member for Dunkley, who I'm delighted is in the chamber now and who is an unflinching champion of reform in this area. The Abbott government is the friend of the technology sector. We have reversed the way the technology sector was betrayed by Labor in government. Well, let's have a look at Labor's approach when it came to funding cuts in science. In the 2011-12 MyEFO, Labor cut $400 million over 3 years from students studying maths, statistics and science. In the 2012 budget, they cut a further $314 million over 4 years. Indeed, Labor in total cut $1.3 billion from their own policies to encourage students to take up science and maths, and now the Leader of the Opposition expects to be believed, expects to be taken seriously when he has his late road to Damascus conversion on the question of boosting science, technology and maths. Let's be clear. There is no disagreement. These are vitally important policy objectives. That is why the Abbott government has a comprehensive and well-executed set of initiatives designed to stimulate innovation, designed to stimulate activity in the start-up sector, designed to get more children, high school students studying engineering or maths and science in high school and getting onto engineering subjects in university. We've got a whole suite of measures announced in last year's Innovation and Competitiveness Statement. And so the Leader of the Opposition expects us to believe that he's onto something new. You're well behind the game, because the Abbott government is getting on with this. $12 million announced last year for improving education in the vital science, technology, engineering and maths subjects. $3.5 million to ensure that all students have the opportunity to study coding and computer programming. Some $7 million for innovative resources for maths. $500,000 to introduce an innovative P-Tech school, vocational education, giving people the opportunity to pick up vital IT skills which they can then use in the workforce. We've allocated $188 million in key growth areas: advanced manufacturing, food and agribusiness, medical technology and pharmaceuticals, mining equipment, technology and services, oil, gas and resources. And what is the key theme here? The key theme is connecting research with the private sector, with business, because we can all agree that we want as many jobs as we can possibly have, as much economic activity as we can possibly have in the technology sector, in innovation. But what we need is the private sector to be delivering those jobs. Government has an important role, but Labor time after time defaults to thinking government can solve everything with the wave of a hand. Instead of Labor's misguided approach, you've got a comprehensive set of measures from the coalition. We've committed, again, the Minister for Small Business is leading this work, we've committed to removing impediments from crowdsourced equity funding so we can take advantage of the efficiencies of the internet to raise capital quickly for businesses. We've announced just recently a joint announcement from the Ministers for Health, Education and Industry, a strategy to boost the commercial returns from research. So there's a clear and comprehensive set of measures from the Abbott government precisely designed to facilitate the transition of our economy and to make sure that our economy continues to generate the jobs that we need for Australians as the technological transformation occurs, the transformation we can all identify and agree on. Unfortunately, it's a lot easier to identify the issues than to come forward with a comprehensive and credible plan. And it does seem that the Leader of the Opposition has fallen prey to the temptation to come up with a set of measures that sound good politically but don't stand up to a great deal of scrutiny. For example, we had this half-baked plan to write off the HECS debts of 100,000 students studying science, technology and engineering and maths. That sounded great, except it wasn't at all clear how much money was actually going to be allocated to it. Initially they said it would cost $353 million. Then they changed their mind, $45 million. None of those numbers are relevant because the credible estimate here is the estimate from the Department of Education, $2.25 billion. It wasn't even clear whether Labor were talking about 100,000 students, as they initially said, or 20,000 students, and we certainly never got a clear explanation of how it was they were going to choose of the 184,000 students who are presently studying these subjects, which of the ones are actually going to benefit of this reduction. So it sounds great, but when you study the details, it simply doesn't stand up. We had the objective of increasing the number of students studying science and maths. Again, we can all agree on the objective, but when you dig into the details, it seems that even the state Labor education ministers won't agree to the plan presented by the Minister for Education, under which there would be a transition over a 5 to 10-year period to make one of science or maths compulsory in years 11 and 12. So the opposition leader can come into the parliament and give a soaring speech on budget reply night, but it turns out that the practical details haven't actually been sorted out with his Labor state counterparts. And indeed, because the Australian Education Union doesn't like the idea, well, actually the practicalities mean that a specific measure to encourage maths and science education, the practicalities simply haven't been thought through. We heard about the $500 million Smart Investment Fund. Again, it sounds great, but no explanation of how this is going to overcome the difficulty which, under the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd government, the Innovation Investment Fund struck, when of the 3 managers who were allocated funding, 2 of them had to hand back their mandates because they couldn't succeed in raising matching private sector funding. So let's be clear. We can all agree on the objectives, and the Abbott government has a clear plan across a whole range of fronts to deal with the transition of our economy. Sweeping statements not properly researched or substantiated are no substitute for the sustained action of the Abbott government.
Call the honourable member for Port Adelaide.